It's 8:55 p.m. The air is entirely still. Down by the river, right in front of this creepy, abandoned warehouse, some locals spot something that absolutely makes their blood run cold. It's a heavy sack, just left completely alone in the dark. They immediately call the police, and when the authorities finally open it up, they find a young man's body. Tucked inside his pocket is a driver's license, clearly displaying his name, Ethan Parker.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the second corpse. We're going to break down the incredible true story of Ethan Parker. And I promise you, just when you think you have this mystery completely figured out, the ground is literally going to shift beneath your feet.
Section 1. The mysterious corpse by the river. At first glance, the authorities thought they had a tragic, but, fairly standard homicide on their hands.
Okay, let's dive into this. On paper, it looked like a totally open and shut case. The police found the driver's license, they called the family in, the devastated relatives looked at the body and formally identified him. So, case closed on the identity, right? The victim, officially recorded as Ethan Parker, was given a funeral and buried. And from there, the police just shifted all their resources to finding his killer.
Section 2. Return of the dead man. Because right after the funeral, something completely impossible happens. Let's just trace the days for a second. Day 1, the body is found. Day 2, the funeral takes place and is buried. But then we hit Day 4. Just 3 days after the initial discovery, a young man casually walks right through the front doors of the police station, walks up to the desk and says, "I am Ethan Parker." I mean, just imagine the absolute silence in that room. The duty officer just stared at him, genuinely believing this guy was either deeply unstable or playing a really sick prank.
The officer actually asks him, "Are you using this guy's name as a joke?" But the young man just calmly pulls out his driver's license. So the baffled police immediately run his fingerprints. They check the national database, and step by step, the impossible becomes an undeniable fact. Everything matched perfectly. The man standing right in front of them was, without a shadow of a doubt, Ethan Parker, which leaves this terrifying question hanging in the air. Who on earth did they just bury 3 days ago?
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer paradox the police uncovered when they immediately exhumed the grave. The DNA test results came back as proof positive that the corpse was absolutely not Ethan Parker. But at the exact same time, you have this perfect rule of threes. The dead man was wearing Ethan's jacket, he had Ethan's wallet in his pocket, and he was even carrying Ethan's mobile phone. This wasn't some clerical mix-up at the morgue. No, this was a deliberate, meticulously staged scene meant to trick everyone.
Section 3. Behind the courier service. To understand why someone would orchestrate this massive deception, we really have to rewind and look at Ethan's daily life. So Ethan worked for a local courier service, and there was a huge issue at his company. Parcels were just vanishing into thin air before reaching their destinations. Ethan didn't just ignore it though. He suspected an inside job and quietly started playing detective, secretly gathering data on his own. Then, the catalyst hits. The day before the murder, Ethan's motorcycle is stolen, but crucially, he never reports it to the police. He knew for a fact the theft was connected to the very thieves he was investigating, and he was hunting this massive fraud ring entirely off the books.
When the police finally realized Ethan's workplace was the epicenter of all this, they started questioning the staff. Of course, everyone played dumb, but one really sharp investigator spots a huge discrepancy in the CCTV footage. Let's trace these steps because it's wild. First, every single night at exactly 8 p.m., a white van enters the compound. Second, checking the front gate camera, that same van never ever exits. So how did it leave? Third, the investigator checks the emergency back gates, and conveniently, that specific camera had been broken for exactly 1 month. This wasn't just petty theft. This was a highly layered, totally premeditated conspiracy.
So the police tracked the license plate of the white van, and they tracked down the owner thinking, yes, we finally have our prime suspect. But the owner just shrugs. He tells them he sold the van 2 months ago. To who? He has no idea. There's absolutely no paperwork. And just like that, boom, the momentum comes to a sudden agonizing halt, a total dead end.
Section 4. The blue ink clue. But just as the case was going completely cold, the forensic report comes back.
So the crucial point is the specific, subtle, blue ink stain found on the dead man's finger. The forensic team notes that this wasn't ordinary wall paint or pen ink. No, it was a highly specialized security ink. And get this particular ink has only one use. It is utilized exclusively during the process of counting huge stacks of banknotes.
Instantly, it all clicks for the police. They weren't dealing with a simple courier theft or some random bank robbery. The missing parcels, the secret van, it was all a front for a massive counterfeit money ring. And Ethan Parker, quietly observing from the inside, had figured the whole thing out. But here's the terrifying part. The criminals realized Ethan knew. They weren't just stealing his motorcycle. They were actively hunting him down to silence him for good.
Section 5. A perfect fake death. Faced with an incredibly powerful syndicate looking to kill him, Ethan was backed into a serious corner.
Let's move to and see how this built, because this is where Ethan's dark brilliance really shines through. Step 1. He secretly plants his own phone, his wallet, and his jacket into the bag of an unknown man, someone who is likely already connected to the criminal underworld. Step 2. Under the cover of night, the counterfeit ring's assassins strike, murdering that unknown man in the dark. Step 3. Because of the jacket and the ID, the killers walk away completely convinced they have successfully eliminated Ethan Parker.
I mean, Ethan allowed his own family to mourn him. He let the police bury a complete stranger under his name. Why? Because of this absolute core logic. If the world thinks he's dead, the syndicate drops their guard. They go right back to business as usual, operating their counterfeit ring with total peace of mind. And by playing a ghost, Ethan bought himself the one thing he desperately needed: time. Time to safely track down the exact location of their secret counterfeit warehouse.
And his extreme gamble completely paid off. Once he pinpointed the warehouse, Ethan walked straight into that police station on day 4. He handed over all the intel. The police instantly mobilize, executing a massive raid on the secret location. And inside, they find exactly what Ethan promised: a fully operational counterfeit factory. The entire operation is dismantled, and the mastermind of the syndicate is finally put in handcuffs.
Months later, during the trial, the mastermind is brought to justice, but the judge presiding over the courtroom just couldn't let one detail go. He looks down at Ethan Parker, who's standing there as the star witness, and asks a question that just echoes in the quiet room. Why take the risk to prove yourself dead?
Ethan stands there, completely silent for a moment. Then, he looks right at the judge and delivers an answer that perfectly encapsulates his terrifying genius. He said, "I knew everyone looks for a living man, but no one follows a dead man."
That leaves us with a truly haunting thought to wrap up this explainer. We always assume the truth demands the light, right? But in the case of Ethan Parker, the only way to expose a massive criminal empire was to completely erase his own existence. It really makes you wonder, is a fake death sometimes the only way to bring the truth to life? Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive. Take this question with you, and I really hope it keeps you thinking long after this is over.